Today we're going to talk about workplace bullying and what you can do to survive it. Sadly, this is a feature of modern work life that is far too common. In this video, I'm going to help you understand better what bullying is and how to survive it, whether you're on the receiving end or you're in a leadership role and you're in charge of supporting a better workplace culture and dealing with incidences of bullying within your teams. Workplace bullying is a toxic problem which silently erodes people's confidence, it impacts productivity and hurts people's well-being. It can't be allowed to fester. What I want to do today is talk about how you identify that bullying is going on and also, importantly, what you can do about it as an employee and as an employer. My name's Lucy and I've been working for 35 years. I started out as a manager in financial services marketing, working around the world, before moving into the non-profit sector where I've managed big teams and small teams, teams that have been in the same room as me and people that have been far-flung in different time zones. I know a thing or two about managing people and I love people and I want everybody to have a positive experience in the workplace. We all spend far too much of our lives at work for it to be miserable. And I'm on a mission to help people be the leaders that they want to see. Today, I run a consultancy called Change Out, and I support leaders and teams with strategy development and leadership skills. I also publish a weekly newsletter, which you can subscribe to below in the links. And just as of a few weeks ago, I'm a brand new YouTuber, learning how to edit my own videos and record them. So please be kind, like the video if you do, and if you'd like to subscribe to follow my journey and learn more, then please hit that link. So let's crack on. The first thing I want to talk about is whether what you're experiencing is actually bullying. Some people might not know that what's happening to them is bullying, and other bullies might not know that what they're doing is bullying or harassment. So let's talk about the definitions. So bullying is not just a one-off disagreement or an argument that can happen in the heat of the moment. It's persistent. It happens on several occasions. And there's also a power dynamic at play. So often the bully will feel or be more powerful than the person that they bully. And this can happen downwards from a manager to a direct report. It can happen sideways between peers, or even upwards from direct reports upwards to their manager. So it doesn't have to just follow reporting lines within an employment structure. So bullying is a persistent pattern of mistreatment which can affect the recipient's mental health and their well-being. It can take many forms. It can be verbal abuse, it can be online in the form of emails, it can be exclusion, so you could all go for a social after work and just leave one person out, and you do that repeatedly. It can also be where you might sabotage people's work, so you might deliberately find that somebody is deliberately making your work life difficult by not giving you the full information about a project, for example. Other things can be more overt, such as intimidation in form of body language or aggressive behaviours. And then the other aspect is, of course, harassment, which is to do with people's characteristics. So you could have where bullying strays into discrimination when it's based on somebody's gender, their age, their ethnicity, their sexuality, or what have you. It's really important to understand fully the different forms that bullying can take. But the key things to remember are that persistence and that power imbalance, because those are key factors that turn something that might be just a one-off into something that could be called bullying. In summary, bullying can be described as unwanted behaviour that is an abuse of power, that it makes somebody feel bad. As I said earlier, bullying can also happen upwards from staff to their managers. For example, repeated refusing to do tasks, repeatedly name calling, again exclusionary behaviour, ignoring somebody's requests to do work. So this can occur also, and it's important to bear this in mind, particularly as the employer. If bullying is going on in an upward way from employee to line manager, it's important to understand the context. Is there something going on that the employer can fix? So what to do about bullying? The first thing to remember is that you are not alone, that you deserve to be respected at work and you deserve to be believed about whatever your experience is. There are 4 things that you can do. Now, the first thing I would really urge you to do is to keep a diary of what's going on. Note down date, time, who said what they said, where they were there any witnesses. This is really important because if you do this, firstly, you're building up a pattern of information which might help you, and it might help you deal with it as things go on. Sometimes things that are written down, you can put them to one side and feel a bit better about them. But crucially, if you do decide to make a complaint about this behaviour and address it, you've got this written record of what's going on. And that counts even if there were no witnesses. It's still really important to have it noted down. The second thing, and I would only do this if it's safe to do so, is try to set some boundaries between yourself and the bully. Is it possible to speak to them or even email them and just to say, point out that this behaviour is unwanted and you don't want that behaviour to recur? This might just give them pause. It might stop them in their tracks and make them think about what they're doing and whether it's acceptable or not. Examples of this might be saying something like, I'm not comfortable with that comment, or something like, please speak to me respectfully. So completely you're not escalating anything there, you're just pointing something out and being very firm. Now, only do this if it feels safe to do so, but it could be a really good technique to just stop it right there without having to do anything more. The third thing, and these aren't really a list of importance, I would really encourage you to seek support. You are not alone. Talk to somebody in your family, talk to someone at work that you trust, talk to a friend. Another perspective might help you explain what's happening, help you understand it better, and at the very least, a trouble shared is a trouble halved. So you may well feel better as soon as you start to share what's going on. You don't have to go through this alone. Support systems are absolutely vital for resilience. And then the fourth thing you can do is to look at your company's policy about bullying and harassment. Every employer should have one. So have a look at what your company says. What does it say about the definition of bullying, about what the policy and procedures are if somebody reports bullying? Have a look at that and equip yourself in case you want to follow this process. Understanding the policy better will give you a roadmap to follow, and it will help you feel more in control of the situation. From here, you've basically got 2 routes you can go down. You can continue to follow an informal route, so you can report this to your line manager, you can have a conversation with whoever it is that's bullying you and try to resolve it that way by not making a formal complaint and just having a conversation with the person, or asking your line manager to have a conversation on your behalf. If you do not feel comfortable talking to the person directly, you could enlist the support of somebody else. Maybe it's time to bring in your trade union representative or another colleague. The other route you can go down is to make a formal complaint, and this is where you would follow the policy that you've read about in your company's policy and procedures manual. Every employer should have one. Raising a grievance is basically where you make a formal complaint to your manager, and this is where all of that information that you've noted down, all of the facts about what's been going on, will come in really useful, because what your employer should then do is to do an investigation into what's going on, so that evidence will be used to build a picture and be really helpful for them. Sometimes, of course, it might be that it's your manager that's the bully and you don't feel comfortable raising this with them directly. In this case, I would go straight to your human resources department and talk to them. They should support you. If they don't, for whatever reason, then you can go to a layer above and go to your boss's boss and talk to them about what's going on. In my experience as a line manager myself, staff have often felt uncomfortable about making a formal complaint, but I always encourage this because it makes it documented, it makes it out in the open, and if you are a good manager, then you will support your staff if they are making a complaint. And this is certainly what I've always attempted to do when I've been managing situations in the workplace. Employers and employees have a mutual duty to treat each other with respect. This is really important. Therefore, any employer should tackle any report of bullying that they come across, and they should also, in a wider context, tackle the wider culture and make sure that the workplace that they preside over is not a place where people are unhappy and where bullying and disrespect is going on. A workplace that has bullying in it will be a dysfunctional workplace. It will be a toxic environment, and employers will see greater turnover of staff as many people will choose to leave rather than tackling issues that they see around them. Everybody deserves to be treated with respect at work. I wholeheartedly believe this. In fact, this is why I'm making these videos, because I want to try and get these ideas out into the world and support people that are experiencing issues in the workplace. Here are some things that managers can do to make the culture better in their workplace. The first thing is to model good behaviour. So don't take favourites, don't treat some people different to other people, be consistent, be even, be fair. This is really important to create a sort of supportive environment at work. The second thing you absolutely must do is to have clear and consistent policies that everybody knows what they are and they're followed for all situations, not just sometimes we follow a policy, other times we don't. Make sure you have policies and you use them, and accompanying those policies you have procedures. So what should happen if somebody wants to enact the bullying policy? What is the process to follow? Sometimes people just have the policies but they don't have the procedures. I think it's really important to make sure you've got both in place and that all managers across your organisation understands how to use them. The next thing you can do is to create a safe and open reporting culture. Make it clear to all of your staff that if they come forward with a complaint or a report of bad behaviour, that it will be investigated and they will be supported through that process. The next thing is to make sure that you treat all complaints seriously. That means investigating them thoroughly, reporting back to the complainant about what's going on, and as best as you can, bringing the matter to a conclusion swiftly. This can take time, but it is absolutely vital to make sure people have faith in your policy and your processes for investigating complaints. The next thing you must do is to implement the appropriate consequences if there is a finding of bullying. There will be a range of things that you can do, which could be reassigning somebody to other work, it could be an informal or a formal warning, it could be other forms of disciplinary or training. There are a range of things that you could implement, and make sure that you do implement something that is appropriate to whatever the finding and the outcome of the investigation is. The next thing is super important. Make sure you keep on communicating with whoever is the complainant in the case. Keep them up to date, even if there's nothing more to tell them. Check in with them, how are they doing, and make sure that they're okay and informed as the investigation goes on. And lastly, when this case is concluded, don't just wrap it up and move on. Keep on having a dialogue about these issues to make sure that they don't re-emerge, make sure that people feel good, and make sure that you as an organisation have learned from this incident. So to close, workplace bullying is a serious issue, but it's not insurmountable. It needs to be tackled. The onus is on the employer to make sure that the workplace is safe and respectful. And if instances of bullying are reported, it's absolutely vital that they are investigated thoroughly and appropriate measures taken. I hope you've learned something from today's video. Do like and subscribe if you want to, and look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you.